It wasn't so much that I wanted to be an airline pilot, it's just I always wanted to fly. And the way I knew I wanted to fly is when I was a really young kid. I used to go out on my uncle's boat. My father and my uncle and I used to all go out, and I used to watch the seagulls fly. And I was just really envious of the seagulls. And then later on, I found out, okay, I could fly airplanes. That would be the next best thing. One day, I was sitting in class with another friend of mine. Back then we had what they call study hall. And just the whole thing was just to sit there and study. And, you weren't supposed to talk or anything, you were supposed to study. But me and a friend of mine were talking. So then me and him were just talking. And by the way, he was one of the worst in the class. We both were the worst in the class. We were both at the bottom of the class. And then we were saying how cool it would be if we came back to our class reunion in our uniform. Everybody would just be shocked, at us of all people coming back as airline pilots. So we shook hands that day. We promised that we were going to become airline pilots. After that, a friend of mine, Joe Saller, he said that he has a neighbor who's an African-American airline pilot who lived right around the corner because, Phil's father was a dentist, so he lived up in the hills. And he told the guy about me, and then the guy invited me to come over to talk, about how to do it. So I went over his house, and, first off, I was really amazed and shocked to see an African-American airline pilot. I've never even seen that before. So he invited me to his house, to the living room, and he sat down, told me, hey, number one, you can do it. And he kind of mapped out, how do you go about doing it. He told me you got to get your commercial instrument and get all your ratings. And then he told me you have to get a job flying. Once I graduated, I went to College of Alameda. They had an aviation department, which at the time was one of the best around, even as good as some universities, even though it was a junior college, what they call private pilot ground school, to get your pilot license. You have to get a 70 on the final exam to pass the course. The problem was that the course was kind of geared towards people who already had their own airplane or they were raised around airplanes. They already had exposure to aviation. So I never had any exposure. I didn't know anything about flying airplanes. So even the most basic things, I didn't know anything about. So the first time I took the class, I got below a 70. I took the class the third time. And the third time I took the class, I had more exposure. I kind of knew a little bit more, and I took the class and actually got above an 80. And that allowed me to take the risk for the private pilot. At the same time, I was taking flying lessons. So everything came really hard. My teacher told me, in retrospect, he told me a lie. My instructor, I think it was a lie, but I believed it. It was I'll call it a divine lie, because I kind of had a hard time learning to fly. He told me the very best pilots are the ones who have a hard time learning to fly. I mean, only now am I looking back and saying, I wonder if he was just telling me that to make me feel better.